Sair da escola já com uma formação profissional no currículo? Parece bom demais pra ser verdade, né? Pois é. No ensino técnico do Senac, isso é possível. É ensino médio junto com formação técnica, que acontece durante os 3 anos. Lá, eles usam metodologia para projetos, desenvolvendo competências como resolução de problemas, pensamento crítico e colaboração, além de valores éticos e sustentáveis. Quer saber? Senac. Acesse sp.senac.br/ensino médio e saiba mais.
She never got her due. She's a big lesbian and a loudmouth Jew. With her gasket always ready to blow, you're listening to Judy's show. Who? Judy's show. Wait a minute, who are you talking about? Oh, she's an asshole. What is wrong with you? Oh, you suck. So long. Fuck off. Welcome to It's Judy Show with Judy Gold. I'm your host, Judy Gold. And this week we have part one of my interview with Heather Thomas. If you're not my age or my generation, you might not know Heather Thomas, but she was on a series. She played Jody Banks on the Fall Guy TV series, which was with Lee Majors. And there was an iconic poster of her that every teenage boy, man, whatever had. It was the hottest selling poster, I think, of all time. And she was on it, and she has a really interesting life story. You know, she gave up, she retired to focus on her family, but there's just so much there. So she is my guest. Very exciting. A lot of secrets. So that's that. So Heather Thomas. Also want to thank everyone who came to my shows this week. I was honored to, be a part of the Gilbert Gottfried. I would call it it was his album came out. He never had an album, and his album just came out. And it was to celebrate that, but also to celebrate him. And it was so great because, the panel was Dave Attell, Susie Essman, Richard Kind, Dara Gottfried, Frank Santropadre was the, who was his co-host on his podcast, was the moderator. It was just so great. I got to see Caroline Hirsch, who owns Caroline's and Lewis. And it was just like being with the old timers. And we just laughed and had the best time. And I really miss Gilbert. So yeah, that was fun, and I had a great time at Laugh It Up in Poughkeepsie, so thank you everyone who came to that. This week, baby, the Weitzman, on Thursday, I'm going to be at the Weitzman National Museum of American Jewish History. It's Jewy in Philadelphia. That is on November 21st at 7 p.m., and then I will be in Aventura on Friday, November 22nd at the Aventura Arts and Cultural Center. Very excited about that. And then the Boca Black Box on Saturday, the 23rd, this Saturday, shows at 6:30 and 8:30 at the Boca Black Box. Jew. And then I'm flying right home in the morning to see Ben play at Binghamton against Central Connecticut. By the way, we all went to Ben's game at Fordham last week, and it was so fucking great to see him live and in person. And the refs sucked. They called fouls on him. Like within 1 minute, they called 2 fouls. Then he got taken out. Then he goes back in within 30 seconds, another foul. He doesn't foul. He does not foul. He's not a person who gets fouled out ever. Then he goes in the second half. Then he's in for 1 second, and they call a foul on him again. And then he finally, the coach puts him in with 4 fouls, and he gets 15 points in 14 minutes. I mean, these, some of the refs just really fucking suck. I'm just telling you. I mean, it's frustrating, and you can't do anything about it. But it's so fun to watch, and so many people came. So I'm very proud of Ben. Henry, I love Henry. He's doing great. I had the best birthday. Elisa surprised me. We met my friends for drinks, and then we went to see Hell's Kitchen. Shoshana Bean is fucking, I mean, the whole cast is fucking unbelievable. And I'm friends with Shoshana. She's like otherworldly. I can't believe that voice comes out of her body. It was so fun. Hell's Kitchen, go see it. See it while Shoshana is still in it. And then we went to Joe Allen, my home, away from home. And it was so much fun. And so that's that. Just so you know, I've been trying to take care of myself since this fucking election. And I've gone from sadness to sort of like, I guess it would be, I don't know if it's acceptance, because I am just I'm not dealing with it because I know that it's going to be so bad on January 20th. Like, it's just going to be so bad. And I stopped watching the news. I stopped. I cooked dinner the other night. I watched Law and Order while I was cooking dinner. And I got to tell you, I feel much freer. I have a bunch of books I want to read. I think we should talk about, the positive of this is I'm not letting him fucking control me. I'm not letting the media control me. We need to get our lives back. Our lives back, not our lives. What the fuck that was. We need to get our lives back. And the good thing is, read books. Go read books. He's got 2 years before we get something back and he becomes a lame duck. The nominations are, it's just like, I wish I didn't, I got to get off I got to turn off the notifications on my phone, because he has just, it's like he's trolling us. He is trolling us. That is what he's doing. And all of you people, a lot of Jews voted for him because of his pro-Israel stance and overlooked everything else. I think all of you are going to, I don't want to say you're going to get what's coming. I just want to say, I just can't wait. I can't wait for you to, not, most people, who voted for him against their own interests. I'm looking forward to your outrage. But right now, I am everyone take care of themselves. Do not focus on this. Do not watch the news. Do not walk around, just defeated. Yeah, it's fucked up. Yeah, it's fucked up that, we don't, that this country doesn't give a shit about character. The fact that he's a felon, like we could go on and on and on and on. They don't care. But we do. And we're going to win in the end. And yes, I am convincing myself as I say this, but it was soul crunching, gut wrenching to know that this country cannot vote for a woman. They cannot elect a woman or a woman especially a woman of color. And, I'm sick of the criticism of what she did. Oh, she didn't do this. She didn't. Fuck you. She had 102 days. Why did we stop? Why don't we not focus on what she didn't do or how she ran her very short campaign and start focusing on what he fucking did do that everyone is okay with, that everyone overlooked? Because that's what the fucking point is. Okay, you can blame her. You can go quarterbacking. Oh, she shouldn't have said, that she, that he was this and he was that, and she's the alternative. Shut the fuck up. Okay, because obviously, with these results, it wasn't. She could have, given everyone a fucking $1 million, and it wouldn't have worked. I'm telling you. So. We know more. Let's just say we have more information now. So we know what we're fighting and we know what this country is made of. And it's fucking sad. But take this time to take care of yourself. Go work out, watch movies, read books, take care of yourself. That is my advice for this week. Please. Because you're just going to make yourself crazy. He is appointing people who have disdain for the departments that they're in charge of. They're all shit. And if you think Elon Musk needing more attention than who needed a lot of attention? Well, he needs a lot. But, you think they're not going to get in a fucking fight soon? You're crazy. Okay? And whatever. We've been through a lot. We've been through a civil war. So, and we're still here. But yeah, it's fucking depressing. So go take care of yourself. Do something nice for yourself and stop watching the news. Okay. So that's that. And I have a really great podcast for you. So yeah, sit back and listen to this. This is going to be a fun podcast that you're going to enjoy, and it's going to bring back memories. So sit back, relax, and enjoy part 1 of my interview with the one and only Heather Thomas. Hey everyone, welcome to It's Judy Show with Judy Gold. I am your host, Judy Gold, and today our guest is someone I have known about for, it's got to be 40 years? 40-ish?
41.
I remember her. We're the same age-ish. But I remember Heather Thomas from television. And then I remember not hearing about Heather Thomas. And now we're hearing from Heather Thomas, which is fantastic. And she's on the podcast today. So Heather, thank you for being here. Look, there's people know you from a poster that was iconic that probably every boy, man, and lesbian had in their on their wall. But there is so much more to you. You are such a layered person, many dimensions, and that's what I really would love to talk about today. But can we start? So you were born in Greenwich, Connecticut, but I have to talk to you. Like, I've been dying to talk to you about this. I read your mother's obituary.
Oh, wow.
And we have to spend some time on your mother because she was
amazing,
extraordinary. I mean, I reread it this morning. Can we just talk a little bit about your mom? Gladys Lou Ryder. Oh, there's a photo. There's a photo of your mom. Oh my God, I love that.
If I had this, I would have buried her in it because it's her.
She's amazing. Okay. Your mother was such a force.
Yes.
Women who grow up with strong women as their mothers or their mentors or whatever are so much different. And you read about your life. The one word that comes to mind is resilient. And then I read this obituary and I'm like, of course. Gladys Lou, I just highlighted some of this because I really want to get your I hope this is okay. Your
it's completely okay. Everybody
reaction.
worships her over here.
Okay, good. Gladys Lou Ryder, leaving you feeling valued, inspired, and utterly worthy of her fascination. You could also count on having your grammar corrected and mystifyingly committed to multiple hours of volunteer labor in service of whatever greater good she was into at that moment. For Gladys Lou was a speech teacher for 8 years, a behavior modification specialist for 36, and a Presbyterian for 92. Born Gladys Lou Miller in Bradenton, Florida. I mean, who's born in Florida in 1927? It must have been. Did you go down there a lot as a kid? Or?
Oh, yeah. I used to go to Bradenton, Florida, and it's now Manatee, Florida. But yeah, my grandparents moved, and she did her teen years in Pennsylvania, in Pittsburgh.
Right.
But her early childhood, probably grade school,
Wow.
She was.
I mean, no one was. How did they end up in Florida?
I have no idea. I do not. there are questions that you ask your grandparents, and then there are questions you wish you asked your grandparents.
Right, absolutely.
You turn into an adult, like, why the fuck did you pick Florida? I don't know.
Right.
But they did. Crazy. They did when Florida was like snakes in the trees and stuff, you know. Alligators everywhere. That's when they went down there.
She got her first job, tapping and singing in her aunt's speakeasy, and continued working until well into her 80s. Can you tell me about your aunt's speakeasy?
That was in Ohio, in Linwood, Ohio on Lake Erie. And I think they sold booze when it was illegal, and then it was legal. But my mom, you know, they had a big band. It was a dance hall and a party place. And my mom, my grandmother, you know, that's when everybody wanted to make their kid Shirley Temple.
Right, right.
So my poor mom had to endure like some hot comb curling her hair every time she had to appear. And then they threw her out there and she tapped and sang.
Wow.
Yeah. And you know, it was like our adult hours, you know, with people boozing all around her.
Right. I mean, I read about how there's
she was like a child act, basically.
Right. But really talented. And I read that you all, you know, have memories of the fact that she never stopped dancing, that when she was making dinner, when she was alone, that she was always dancing.
I had a parrot for 41 years. He was like an appendage on me.
What was his name?
His name was Rastafarian.
Oh.
And he had a really great sense of humor. He was mean as a snake, not to me, but to a lot of people, but he loved my mom. And my mom taught him to sing songs she could tap to. I'm not kidding. And the bird would sit there and sing a song, and my mom would be tapping in my kitchen. I was like, what are you guys doing in there? It was crazy.
Do you have any video of that?
No.
Oh, God.
It was before smartphones.
Right.
And we had parrots growing up, and she did the same thing with them.
But they're so smart.
Yeah.
Those
they
birds
would all
are smart.
sing for her, and she would tap to them. So it was like a radio she took with her everywhere.
Oh, that's hilarious. If
It
you had
was a weird household.
Yeah, but would you want a boring household?
No.
Yeah,
no.
exactly. If you had the good fortune to be one of her students, you had a brilliant and dedicated champion. She spent her own money on classroom supplies, robbed her family of coats and sweaters for kids in need, and gave countless off hours to help families negotiate bureaucracy, and stayed up late tailoring individual lesson plans.
Yeah. She would educate parents. She had the first thing she did with new students was get their parents all in, and she gave them lessons in what their rights were as parents to ask for their kids' special needs.
Also, you know, at that time, I mean, we talk about it now. She spent her own money on classroom supplies. Like, what the fuck is this?
Every parent does that. We used to have the finest public schools in California when I was growing up. We had the best, some of the best in the nation. And then Howard Jarvis and Reagan rigged it. So, because there was a problem in California, there were senior citizens that were getting taxed out of their homes from the ever-rising property taxes. However, they extended it, of course, to non-senior citizens and people that weren't on a fixed income, like corporations. And it gutted our public schools, the money. And then it became very fashionable for Republicans to say, well, we could just put 5,000 students in this school. We don't need 3 schools.
Right.
You know, with
let's have 50 kids in a class not learning.
2,000 each. Let's just make a 6,000 kid school. And they consolidated the schools and they wrecked them. But so far,
well, Heather, they want to get rid of the Department of Education.
They've been doing it. They've been destroying public schools for a while now. That trans issue pisses me off so much. They've used it to get a wedge in, and people actually believe it. Yes, let's worry about a tiny percentile of 1%. The population that is extremely vulnerable and misunderstood. Right. And then let's tell a giant lie about them to destroy public education. That's what it is. The way they've ripped out let's get rid of all the books that mention Black people. Come on.
Or rape or anything or any life experience that you deem.
All right. Yeah. And the people are these ignorant bitches who are like Proud Boys, basically. Right. You know, they collude with Proud Boys. They're a bunch of ignorant bitches, and they go in and they take out books. Hopefully that'll change in states like Florida. But between the book banning and the promise to, America's for Americans and that fascist rally, what more do you need to know that these people are not American? It's a hostile takeover.
Oh, but terrible.
They started with our schools. It's that
absolutely education.
Give me a child until they are 5 and they're mine forever. Right. It's that principle.
Did you ever talk? I mean, your mother died in 2019. Did you ever talk about the public school system? I mean, asshole was president at that time.
She was one of the first people I knew who knew about GLAAD and GLSEN.
Oh, I have that in here. I mean,
yeah,
it's amazing. It is. She's so fucking ahead of her time. All right, this is one of my favorites.
Frankly, I know very few teachers that don't have to buy school supplies.
Right. Same. Mike, and
look all over public social media, and all it is teachers going, "Can we have this? Can we have this?" Right. That's why Donors Choose is a big favorite of mine. And
it's crazy. Calling any of her students slow or impaired was akin to blasphemy. This is a quote of hers. "Never ask if a child is smart," she'd say. "Ask, how are they smart?" So ahead of her time.
She was so smart. I wish she had written more books. Right when she was going to start writing some of her experiences down about teaching, she had a fall and hit her head, and she was on warfarin, and it made her a little forgetful, and that idea went by the wayside. But she was very smart, just, even from just having a lot of years at it. But she exulted in her students succeeding.
Right.
Other people's success grew her. She would expand with it. It's very hard to explain the sheer energy and joy she got out of it.
I mean, that is an amazing quality to have, but in show business, most people don't have that quality. Do you think that was handed down to you? Do you think you were different?
If you're going to wear different skins, you're going to have the empathy for them.
Right.
You have to have a deep love of your character and an intimacy with them, and identify with them in a way so you can be part of story that is the most accurate and serves the story you're telling.
Right.
So, I think that helps. The team idea, I never understood people that would get really crazy and abuse people to the point where they were abusive or self-absorbed in a bad way. I do think you need to protect yourself on a set when you're working and not, let your energy dissipate. But, those weird actors who are abusive of other people.
Oh, my God. Yeah.
For no reason.
Well, insecurity. I mean,
we were always threatened. A team player house. So that was.
Right. And that probably served you so well.
Yeah.
In your career.
But also I knew how to ascertain politics really quick.
Right.
In an area. So
she formed the GLSEN chapter at her school before it was politically correct and enlisted the teaching staff before they knew what it stood for. So she was brilliant in
I knew what it stood for, but she was pretty hard to say no to. Because she would say why it's in your best interest as well as the collective best interest.
Do you think she had, before she went to college, she studied and performed with Martha Graham.
And during college, too.
Right. Oh, okay. And she chose to get a master's in speech pathology and get married over a life in showbiz. That was absolutely the right decision for her. Did she ever, we're going to talk about your career, but did she
ever give me shit because I didn't get a master's? Yes.
But did she ever discourage you, like, don't go into that business or?
No, but she always said, you need a teaching degree to fall back on.
Oh my God, that's what my parents said all the time.
Yeah,
get a teaching degree.
I think it was common of our era.
Right.
You can always fall back on teaching. I said, I'm not going to fall, motherfucker. That was my attitude. No falling.
So your family moved to LA when you were a teenager.
I moved to Santa Monica when I was 4, and I'm still here.
Oh, wow. Okay. I love Santa Monica.
I moved away, I moved away and away, but 30 years ago, I moved back and I live here. You started acting at the age of 14. Is that correct? It wasn't really acting. I was
hosting
a show. They had come to my school and asked for the loudmouth smart kids. And
were you a really good student?
Yeah. I was never as good as my sister. My older sister is a genius, like certifiable genius. She took the SATs and got them all right.
Oh my God. Okay, so that's mental. Yeah.
Yeah. So having to follow her in school, they go, "Oh, you're Holly's sister," and I'd go, "Yeah," and then they'd be, "Oh, you're Holly's sister." Really?
Like in the beginning, they were like, "Oh, Holly's sister."
Yeah, as her A's, It was that,
and then it was like
there were some subjects I was a B student in, and the teachers were like, "Oh, okay."
Oh, I guess you and Holly are different. Yeah. That's hilarious.
My sister was like a real and she's a genius.
Right. But you're a genius in a different way. I mean, your mother must have recognized, she knew people were smart in different ways. Yeah. And talented. Yeah. So what was you hosted a talk show at the age of 14. Can you tell me about that? That's fascinating.
It was for NBC. It was called Talking with a Giant. And it was just kids hosting celebrities. But their gimmick was that we wrote it ourselves. But we'd write it ourselves and then they'd censor the shit out of it. And so,
right, of course.
Oh, we can't ask that question? Then why are we talking to them? It was that kind of thing. So what would happen is we'd go there instead of school and we'd write these scripts and then we'd spend the rest of the week hearing what we couldn't say. And then we'd shoot it.
What do you think that taught you?
That you're going to have to compromise, basically. But also, it's bullshit. You got to be able to stand for what we would fight for certain things and they would modify it, but not really. It's better to be the producer.
You're not kidding. I mean, you must have learned about, power and censorship.
But it was already there built in because you're a kid. And I was a girl, the boys can do that, you can't. So I grew up in the era where it really was. The boys can do that. You can't. It's not ladylike or not for you or too. It's ugly when you do it. Yeah, all that shit.
Yeah, I always, for some reason, had no idea why my brother got to do certain things or other boys. And I would be like, why? Why? I don't, because I really don't understand. And to this day, I still don't understand. Well,
why are you hanging out with the boys?
I loved hanging out with the boys.
Yeah, there was a whole bunch of that. I was kind of a tomboy and they didn't like that.
Same. Well, you had to, because you had your own, you had a point of view.
I didn't get a ton of it from my mom, but I got it from teachers and people along the way.
There's this ad, but that just made me think of this ad I just saw. There's this ad, and it was two husbands talking, and one saying, did you get her to, who's she voting for? Yeah, I got her to vote for him.
Yeah, I saw that ad.
Yeah. And then the other one's like, me too. And then you see them voting, and they look at each other and wink, and they vote for Harris. And that ad made my blood boil on so many levels. But the level that really gets me is like, why can't these women, like, what do you mean? You have to hide your fucking from your misogynistic.
Depends on how you grow up. I mean, we could go into a whole discussion of why those mega churches it's all Walmart. They got rid of the marketplace. There's nowhere to socialize except for the mega church. Everybody gravitated there. ExxonMobil gave them extra money because they were pushing creationism for them to get people to doubt science. We could go into a whole thing about that.
Right.
But the truth is, this is what there are women in this country, in the South, the fundamentalist sort of the big grifter church people,
right?
And now it's like that weird prosperity gospel where who was that lady that Trump made his spiritual advisor, where she asked people to give her $36,000?
Oh yeah.
So they can get rich in this life. She's got a giant following. Who the fuck follows that? Who
gives people their hard-earned money? Like how? We're just a bunch of
we could just go on and on. But if you're taught from an age of 2 that God wants you to give them money so you can be rich, these kids, and they want to groom all our children like that.
Right.
It's all grift. I call it big blasphemy.
Yeah, it's true. And it's like our version of Sharia law. I mean, it's ridiculous.
Yeah. And women are voting in droves because we all would look like shit in a Duggar dress. Okay. These guys are like, you've got to be kidding. And it's a weird hostile takeover. They realized that to get the Republicans to come along, they had to include the evangelicals. But I'll tell you, these tech bros are going to kick those people to the curb the minute they get in.
You went to UCLA and you were in the theater program. Quite a feat.
Well, I was in the theater program till I was a junior. And in those days, the film school was primarily graduate. They took 15 undergrads. 14. I was one of them.
Wow.
Because I write really good.
Yeah, you're a writer.
Good letters.
Okay, so you go through UCLA, which is a major program. You're very smart. And you end up at which everyone knows you from The Fall Guy. You got it pretty young, correct?
Yeah. What happened was I was in a play because you had to audition for everything when you were in the theater department. And if you didn't audition, you were pulling furniture and, you were crewing if you didn't get a part. So I had a part and I was in this show. It was in the Boom Boom Room, the Dave Rabe play. Yeah. And I had a solo, and a woman who worked costumes on the show, she was an agent the next quarter. You know, she graduated and was in an agency, and she said, I want to rep you. So I was working while I was in film school. I would take like a quarter off and I took half a year off and did a series, and I did a series before that, one season, or commercials, you know, all that junk paid for my films.
Was that common for students, or were you?
And I did internships. That was very common. I interned at the news.
Oh, wow.
They'd let me write little kicker stories, you know, like Zippy the zebra had a baby, you know.
Right.
But I got to see how a newsroom worked, the AP wires and stuff. And I also got food at Lucy's El Adobe, and AJ was up on Melrose.
So you get this job where you're playing, I mean, this hot character, you know, and you're basically, you know, you're known for the way you look, but yet you have a keen intelligence. Did you ever feel like you wanted to bang out and say, you know, look, fuckheads, I'm not a fucking pinup girl here?
Well, to tell you the truth, your eyes are open going into the part.
Right.
No, it's not Shakespeare. And, you know, in those days, I was interested in survival and power. And if that was my path to power, it's just, how do you want to, you know, those posters bought me a damn house.
Right.
So I'm forever grateful to everybody that ever bought a poster.
Right.
You know, I have it still is the highest selling poster in history.
Yeah, it's pretty amazing and iconic.
Yeah, I surpassed even the Pharaoh one. But I was going to go into the assistant director's program. And from working, I saw how shitty they treated women in the assistant director's program. If you did your job, you were a bitch, and everybody tried to undermine you. I mean, actively undermine you and make you look bad. And if you weren't firm enough and let everybody run you over, you were useless. There was no winning. So I said, where's the power? You know, it was basically the era. I said, oh, well, I really like acting, and maybe this will lead to something. I don't know. And so I'll do this part. And in those days, there were only 3 stations. You got to remember.
Yeah, that's right.
We all had more. The one thing about that was, as far as news is concerned, we had collective, agreed upon experiences. We didn't question reality. You couldn't question reality. And I think that all this weird misinformation and Earth 2 and the weird reality adherence are possible because we're so disseminated news-wise.
But, you know, working in a newsroom, I mean, you could see, I mean, my parents read the newspaper and watched the news, but there was a period of time prior to writing a news story or delivering a news story where people did their due diligence. And that doesn't happen anymore. It's
it does with the major sources usually do. Legacy media usually does, but every now and then legacy media doesn't.
Right.
And it depends on, they do their due diligence, but they might do things like the way they sane wash Trump.
Right.
For instance, when he starts talking about dogs and cats, they say Trump forcefully, denounces migrants taking advantage of cities. So it's like a semantic battle at this point. That's why I won't.
But they also, don't you think it's like, I'm going to be the first to report this. I want to be the first. And
I think I think that's always been there with the news, the scoop. But I think the freely reporting lies and knowing their lies, that started with Roger Ailes.
I don't remember.
It's just tabloid journalism. Right. It's not real, it's not journalism. And it never has been.
And it's entertainment news. Yeah.
Well, that's when your news station is spending more time on a car chase than it is on.
Right.
Remember when car chases were all the rage?
Oh my God, yes.
I think that was the 90s or early 90s. Every night it was just a car chase. You were like,
it was every night. Yeah. Also, there was, that was very West Coast because, New York, there's no car chases. But also, I believe, the OJ trial, the Menendez brother trial, all of that voyeuristic addiction to, this drama. And that's
is also with the Jerry Springers and the weird show.
Yes.
Yeah, the Jerry Springers. And even Oprah started it. When it became mainstream to mess with people's emotions, you wonder if it came from the news or if it kind of came from both. And it created a hunger. And then I think a lot of the extreme hyperbole and do you really need to see someone else's emotions to remember you have them? I don't know what that's about, but people became addicted to it. And I think there's a certain amount of dopamine, from doom scrolling.
100%.
Scrolling. And there are people that are addicted to the dopamine you get from the illusion that you're in control from knowing a lot.
Right. Even if what you know is false.
Yeah, but if you believe it to be true, if you are willing to suspend belief. See, what's strange to me is the people that are willing to suspend belief.
Right.
And they say, well, I'm a Christian and we have to suspend belief, for Jesus. I'm like, it's not the same thing.
No.
This is happening in the real and now, and you can prove it or not.
Right.
It's either reality or not.
Right.
But that occurs now, it's because the people that tell them they take advantage of their deepest spiritual yearnings in order to tell them a political lie. There's got to be a special place
in hell
those people go, or a special karma that happens to these people.
Yeah.
You want to believe that, but probably not. I don't know. I just think it's especially foul and cruel.
Yeah. Very cruel. How great was that? How great was that? Thank you so much for listening to part one of my interview with Heather Thomas. It's Judy Show is produced by Laura Vogel, edited by Colin Schmaling, and marketed by the one and only Haley Dircher. And I want to thank you all for listening. Thank you all for my birthday wishes. I'm 60 fucking 2, and I can't fucking believe it. And as you know, I'm going to be in Philly on this Thursday, at the Weitzman in Philly. Weitzman, National Museum of American Jewish History. Then I'm in Aventura on Friday and Boca Black Box on Saturday. Then I'm going to take a little time off for myself. How about that? I'm going to take the week off. It's Thanksgiving and I need to declutter and I'm going to read and I'm going to do things that make me feel good and make me smarter. That's it. And that's what you should do too. So Thank you all. First of all, thank you all for listening. Thank you all for your birthday wishes. Please subscribe and leave a review. Please, please. I know you don't do it and it's really annoying. And I know my friends don't do it. They're like, oh my God, I listened to your podcast. I'm like, did you subscribe? Oh yeah, I gotta do that. Okay, just fucking do it. Okay? I need you. Yeah, and that's it. I don't know what else to say. I'm off. I have to get off my anti-inflammatory and my whole body hurts. So I've been dealing with that, but I'm taking half and then I'm having Tylenol. So yeah, everything's fantastic. Old. Anyway, listen, take the week and do something nice for yourself. That's what you're doing. That's your thing this week. Okay. And thank you all for listening. And as we always say, so long.